quiet. If you've got a side conversation, take it outside. Were you here when I went through the hearing format the last time? I can run through it again.
I think we did hear it.
Okay, because why don't I do it again?
Yeah.
Okay, I'll introduce the application. The Environmental Services Director will give the legal requirements. The applicant will then present the justification for their request. And then the staff will present staff report and analysis. The chair will open the hearing to public testimony and comments. I'll give more information on testifying when we reach that point in the hearing. We will take testimony both in favor and in opposition of the application. When testimony has been received, public testimony will be closed. The commissioners will begin their discussion of the proposal with possible requests for more information from the applicant. There will be a motion and a second with possible conditions. The commissioners will prepare their findings of fact, and then the commissioners will vote on the proposed action. So our next hearing is the last hearing. Well, and excuse me, I should have probably asked how to pronounce this. Maji,
Yes,
Land
exactly.
Sanctuary, construction of a nature-based retreat center with a focus on Black, Indigenous, and people of color, with lodging for 32 people that will host occasional community events at 2792 Clark Road, Two Harbors, Minnesota. Christine?
Thank you. The application was considered complete on February 29th of 2024. The legal was published in the North Shore Journal on March 8th. Notices were mailed out on February 29th to the applicant and on March 1st to the adjoining property owners, the auditor, assessor, recorder, sheriff, Lake County Board of Commissioners, the county administrator and attorney, Lake County Health Department, Soil and Water Conservation District, Minnesota DNR hydrologist, and the town of Silver Creek. We did receive 30 items of correspondence, 3 against and 27 in support. And I would like to reiterate what I did before the last conditional use permit hearing. I want to note the relevant criteria or standards for a CUP based on the Lake County Land Use Ordinance. The Lake County Comprehensive Plan is part of that, and the land use goal is stated as to support growth that is orderly and planned. And of those criteria, we look at the zoning district. This is in the R1 zoning district, and of that, under the R1, there's criterias for the purpose of that zoning, permitted uses, conditional uses, and prohibited uses. So for conditional uses, there's general standards and criteria, and it shall be approved by a majority vote of the Planning Commission upon written findings of fact that the following conditions have been complied with. So one of them is there is safe and efficient access, off-street parking and loading space. So we'll be looking at parking and traffic. Will it comply with the hydrology and impervious surface requirements? This we review erosion control, open space, density. The topography, vegetation, and soil conditions are adequate. That's often addressed through the stormwater control. It will not impact public waters during or after construction or impact wetlands without appropriate consideration. And this is where we utilize our shoreline requirements often and other wetland requirements. Adequate utilities, access, drainage, stormwater retention, supporting facilities have been provided or are being provided backed by appropriate financial assurance. So we look at water supply, we look at sewage treatment, and all those other utilities that we have to evaluate. Will not create potential health and safety, environmental, lighting, noise, signing, or visual problems. So these are often where we address noise, fire protection, those type items. That it will not be detrimental to the rightful use and enjoyment of other property in the immediate vicinity, nor substantially diminish or impair values within the vicinity. One of the things we often talk about in these types of applications is trespassing and potential boundary notifications, demarcation, etc. And then finally, that it's consistent with the comprehensive plan and within the spirit and intent of the ordinance. What is not relevant and what is not considered in this criteria is the ideology of the applicant. That is irrelevant. Thank you.
Thanks, Christine. Okay.
All right.
Time to do.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you for allowing us to be here tonight. My name is Matthew Myrold, and I will be speaking on behalf of Maji Achai Land Sanctuary. Maji Achai owns the land, and we are a charitable organization. Maji Achai Land Sanctuary is a black-led, nature-based healing retreat created to provide rest, reconnection, and rejuvenation of mind and body that centers Black, Indigenous, and communities of color across all generations. It is difficult for this to occur when you feel unwelcome, and that's what Maji Achai provides, is a welcoming space. Rebecca and I will be the primary caretakers and will live on site. This is not a vacation rental. It is a permanent place within the community to offer sanctuary and a place to be and to enjoy the great outdoors that I have enjoyed for the last 30 plus years, hiking and camping all along Lake Superior. We are part of Lake County, of the Lake County community, and part of the Northeast region. As community members and neighbors, we have been completely transparent with our plans. As an example, we invited our neighbors on Clark Road and Highway 3 over to introduce ourselves and to share our thoughts and our plan before we submitted our application. Because of this meeting, we have altered our site plan through the wisdom of persons that have lived here for years. We are removing the campsite across in the Encampment River. There'll be no fires because it's a huge concern. We hear that and respect that. Maji Achai Land Sanctuary has and will be respectful to the neighborhood. It is, sorry, should have got my focus. It is a place of rest and rejuvenation. We will be taking measures to buffer our guests from the noise that already exists along Clark Road. And this is a retreat, a space for quiet and for reflection. It's not a resort. There are beautiful sights and sounds that are right in our backyard. As an example, we had a group come out for bird watching. That's not loud, that's not invasive, that's enjoying this pristine region. Again, it's a retreat. It is not. It's not a resort. We will adhere to all expectations, and we are very excited to do so. I'd like to introduce Rebecca Ndosi, who is the founder of Maji Achai Land Sanctuary. Heidi Zimmer, who is our development consultant and the founder and owner of Wild Rice Retreat in Bayfield, Wisconsin. And then I will yield and pass it over to Dan Hinsman, who is our engineer.
Thank you, Matthew. As Matthew mentioned, I am Dan Hinsman. I am an engineer with SEH. I live and work in Duluth. I've been an engineer for approximately 15 years. Really, my role within the project team is technical support, of course, through the engineering and demonstrating compliance for permits and the like. That will include items such as wetlands. We will be thoroughly reviewing the wetland boundaries, making sure that we establish minimization and avoidance criteria as is consistent with the LGU requirements and the Army Corps of Engineer requirements. We will be also tasked with coordinating the utility needs for the site As we've identified the septic locations, that'll be working closely with the local septic contractor to again confirm compliance with all of the county's requirements. Similarly with the well, we'll be working closely with a well driller, make sure that we are demonstrating compliance to the Department of Health. And then of course stormwater will be a focus of our efforts as well to ensure that we are properly retaining stormwater on site, establishing an appropriate groundwater recharge, and making sure that the water that leaves our site is just as great as it is today. So we do have a lot of other really strong technical team members. Maji has engaged a group of professionals on the project, both landscape architects, civil engineers, to really bring this project forward in the right way. So with that, I'm certainly available for technical questions as they come up, but I believe that encapsulates our portion of the presentation.
Thank you.
Okay, nothing else you want to add to this? Okay, very good. Okay, staff analysis.
All right, so the lodging component of this proposal kind of classifies this as a resort, and our ordinance has requirements for resorts along with the conditional use permit. So there are density requirements. A resort needs to be 5 acres at least. This is a 40-acre property. There needs to be 2,000 square feet per acre. So that's like a really generous amount with the 40 acres, 80,000 square feet. It seems like, the amount of lodging units here would be about 12,000 square feet of living space. So there's going to be a kind of main lodge that may be 1 or 2 buildings and up to 4 standalone cabins plus housing for staff. So yeah, it does meet all those density requirements. The site itself is a former farm. The residence here was built in 1920. And a lot of the development will take place on the farm field, which is already a disturbed site. That's really good for the prevention of forest fires. There's already that defensible space. What else? Yep, there's the Encampment River. That's a designated trout stream. I'm gonna put on contours here. So there's what's defined as a DNR bluff right here. So we would want to make sure that there's no structures there, or that impervious surface is really limited right there. This is a flatter area, it's like a floodplain area. There's proposals to have trails running through this. A component of this is the wetlands, so not only will this field get delineated, but I think that the kind of wetland area should be too as well. There's different ways to minimize impacts for the trails. There could be like a boardwalk or boards with sleepers in that area. Let's see. Yeah, and soil and water had been there about 5 years ago when it was a farm, and they recommend that there's a wetland delineation. Access is off Clark Road. It's really straight right there. There's good access on the road. We didn't receive a comment from the road authority, which is Silver Creek Township. I just know that with the county highway department that they limit driveways to 1 per property, so that may be something that you have to check in with Silver Creek. I think it's pretty likely that the soil disturbance on the site will exceed 1 acre, so that means that there will need to be a stormwater construction permit through the PCA. Yep, we don't have a lot of details about the septic system, but that will get permitted after, if the CUP gets approved, I guess. And that would have to meet Minnesota Code 7080 and our septic ordinance. And occupancy would ultimately be decided based on the capacity of the septic system. Parking, so the ordinance requires 1.5 spaces times lodging rooms, so 24 spaces are required. Their application proposes 38 parking spaces with overflow of 28 on a field. And yeah, I think that's really, going through the ordinance, those are the things to point out. Discussion points, you know, I think a lot of people probably would like to know just day-to-day operations. Is it just the kind of overnight guests of the retreats that will be there, or are there other people coming to the site? I think that there were, I'm pretty sure that there were, you guys proposed privies too, is that right? And I feel like that would probably accommodate extra people at events. And then I just wonder about the nature of the events. Is it related to the mission, or will private events be allowed, such as weddings? And you guys should discuss if that really matters for land use purposes or not. And that's all I have.
Okay, thanks, Don. Okay. At this point, I'll open public testimony. I'll go through the rules of that. You must be signed in order to speak. You will testify from the podium so the commissioners are able to hear you and that a clear and accurate recording of your testimony is recorded. Address your testimony to the chair. Do not engage the applicant, and conversely, applicant do not engage with the witness. Everyone who wishes to speak may do so once. If there are many witnesses, I may impose a time limit. Do not read testimony that has been submitted in writing. All commissioners have been supplied with both paper and electronic submissions and have had ample time to read those. Do not repeat what has already been said. Say you agree or share concerns with previous witnesses. You may not read comments from those not present. Those could and should have been submitted prior to the hearing. There will be no electronic communications outside of any Zoom meeting or designated call-in line. So with that, how many people do we have that are intending to speak? What do you think? Okay, I'm going to limit. Consensus seems like 3 minutes. Time limit, we will have somebody keeping time. So whoever wants to speak first can come to the podium.
My name is Dave Andrew. I've been a resident of Lake County my whole life, taxpayer for Silver Creek for over 35 years. My concern is with the traffic and 32 people. I don't know if the aquifer will handle a well that will take and draw enough water for 32 people. I don't want the traffic, the noise, it's going to impact my way of life. It's owned rural residential, and that's why I live there. Got that, Mike?
Thank you.
Okay.
Who'd like to speak next?
Debbie Cooter, we live in Silver Creek Township, and the reason we live here is because it is so beautiful, and that's why people live here, and that's why people come to visit. I think that it's because of the Lake Superior, it's because of the forest, it's because of the clean air, and it's because of the tranquility. And all of these assets seems to me to contribute or to be the reason why a retreat center like this is perfect. So I just want to give my support to this idea and wish success.
Thank you.
Hello, my name is Marcia Snowden, and I live at 2783 Clark Road. Our property is directly across the road from the proposed land sanctuary. I'm reading this letter to thoroughly express my thoughts. I'm extremely concerned about the large commercial development that is the subject of this conditional use permit application. I enjoy living in our rural neighborhood that has so many benefits such as minimal traffic, dark night skies, almost no neighborhood noises, privacy, and general peace and quiet. In my opinion, the scale of this development, which is planned to be filled with 32 guests plus staff, will have major negative effects on all the positive reasons I just stated about living on the Clark Road. I understand that one of the purposes of the sanctuary is for more people to experience the benefits of the rural setting where we live, but I believe the addition of 32 plus people and the buildings to house them will have permanent negative effects on us as neighbors with the increased traffic, more noise, less privacy, and overall decreased peace and quiet. We purchased our property almost 9 years ago with all these benefits in mind. If there had been a commercial property of this size across the road, we would not have been interested in even looking at our current home. If the development of this size is built, plus its other activities, I fear not wanting to live on the Clark Road is in our future. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi there, my name is Laura Judd, and I am a teacher at a nature-based preschool. And I feel that my role as a nature-based preschool teacher is to bring up these 3 to 5-year-old children to become what I believe are most of the members in this room now, which are those who appreciate the outdoors, who love being outdoors, and all the things that have been mentioned in those positive ways. This retreat center, to me, seems to symbolize and have the intention to bring in those who are either those who grew up or were brought up in a nature preschool or just outdoors with their families, or maybe those who didn't get that opportunity and now are welcomed in a safe space. And so I think it's a great spot for everyone to be welcome. And that intention to be, you mentioned, like the bird watching is not noisy, and it's a wellness sanctuary. It's not meant to be loud and rowdy. And there's a real difference between doing in nature and being in nature. You are proposing to be in nature. And for those who don't know that distinction or are wondering what that means, doing in nature is how I started out my walk today. I had my dog and I had my earphone things in for having a conversation with my parents because I call home while walking outside while taking care of the dog. That's doing in nature. And then I was walking up in Leicester Park and I came through the trees and there the sun came and it was flurries and it was like glitter because this light was reflecting off the snow. And I stood there for a minute and I took out the ear things and I just stopped and I stood and I looked at the sunlight and for a moment I closed my eyes because I could feel the sun on my face because it's a cold day when you can feel the sun, warmth, that's sapricity, and I just stood there to be in nature. And I love that your sanctuary promotes being in nature for all in a safe place.
Thank you. Hi, my name is Dudley Edmondson. I live in Duluth, Minnesota. I actually led the bird hike that we've all famously been talking about. It was a blast. We had people come up from Minneapolis and people from Duluth, and I think one of the #1 comments was how people felt safe in the out of doors for maybe perhaps the first time in their lives. I mean, I believe it might be a bit difficult for white folks to understand what it feels like to be in the outdoors and not feel safe. And I think that a space like this really is absolutely necessary. I know there's others in Minnesota, others around the country, and there's probably more to come. And I think that the space offers a really unique opportunity. I know myself personally, I wanted to see the Encampment River. I'm a fly fisherman. I just wanted to see the river. I've heard so many amazing things about it, and I wanted to see it. And so I feel like a space like this is necessary because people of color are really under higher levels of stress than white folks in this country. We all know this. We've seen the news. It's not, news to anybody. And I'm sure there's some people in this room who probably know some people in this community who would be a problem for the folks at Maji Chai, and we know exactly what I'm talking about. And so you understand why a space like this is necessary. And I just want to say that if this community supports this issue, I think you can kind of count yourselves on the right side of history, because I think it's necessary, and I really would like to see the proposal move forward. So, thank you.
Thank you. Sorry, you're nervous in front of people, but my name is Joe Hall. I own 2911 Clark Road, just up the road, half mile. I have a loop driveway coming off onto the side there, and I already have problems with a lot of people using that to turn around, so having a camp just down the road, I mean, I gotta use Google Maps just to find the grocery store, so I understand that people are gonna get lost all the time getting there. They're gonna be pulling in and out of my property. I'm not gonna be okay with that at all. It's posted, and there's already a ton of people that go on there. I've had things stole off that property with just without this camp, so I'm not okay with that. I also didn't get notice. I guess I checked my mailbox, but this first day I heard about this meeting, first time I've heard about any of this going on. Never met these people. I really hope that camp never goes in. Don't want it. I'm a taxpayer on the property, and I hardly get to use it, but when I do use it, it's my personal gun range, so a lot of shooting goes on there. Yeah, I guess that's about all I got to say about it. Thanks.
Thank you.
Just for reference, we were required by statute to notify within a half mile, quarter mile of property. Otherwise, it's posted in the paper.
Thank you, members of the commission. My name is Lisa Knight. I've lived in Lake County for 36 years, and I'm here tonight to support Maji Chai Land Sanctuary's conditional use permit. I mentioned in my letter already that I sent to the commission that the outdoor industry is a $10 billion industry in the state of Minnesota. Northeastern Minnesota is a favorite destination for outdoor enthusiasts. We see with the hikers, snowmobilers, canoe paddlers, cyclists we welcome into our community year-round. And the Outdoor Industry Association itself, this large professional organization, has made a point of doing outreach to communities of color for at least the last decade. This industry association sees a diverse customer base as a smart investment. And Maji Chai, a nonprofit, is also doing that outreach. Not all of us grew up as a third or fourth generation Lake County resident whose grandfather was lucky enough to buy land, a big chunk of lakeshore on King Lake, back in the early 1900s. And now the descendants of those families and those folks are welcoming family back to their lake place during the summer from all over. There might be a big crew of family over the 4th of July and all the jet skis and piling on the pontoons and kids screaming off the diving docks and all those idyllic, wonderful pictures of summers and time up on the North Shore and in the woods up here that we all love and appreciate. But not all of us were lucky enough to get land back then. Some of us couldn't even buy land at all. When we do get land, we want to share it with the people we love and care about. My husband and I think about that with our sons. Our son, one son bringing his girlfriend to our home on the Drummond Grade to show her where he grew up and how beautiful it is. Another son wanting to live out in our woods with the clean air and the black flies. We all deserve to be welcome in a place in the woods, and we encourage you to support Maji Chai's Land Sanctuary's conditional use permit because our family does.
Thank you.
My name is Butch Whitley. My brother and I own property adjacent or along two sides of the property that's looking for the variance. The idea between the R1 zoning is to have low density population on a large spot of land, which is 10 acres. So this is going to put 36 people probably on 40 acres. So if you, that's about triple the normal density for homeowners in Lake County. The property or the housing in Lake County has 2.76 people per house. So if you take 3 people, round it up to 3 people, and we have 40 acres, that gives you 4 building spots. So that's only 12 people to meet the average. So this is going to be about triple the average. And there's a reason. It's the zoning is supposed to be, or the variances, the purpose of it is not to be detrimental to the immediate area around it. And I don't think that anybody that's attached in that immediate area will agree that it's not detrimental to them. So I feel that it's not appropriate to grant this variance. And something else I'd like to bring up is they mentioned the sewer sites. It was logged off a number of years ago, and about 3 years later, they hired me to come in, and I went and dug all the stumps out, pushed dirt in the holes, packed it down with an 18-ton dozer, all over all of that whole open area. And it goes all the way back across the river where they logged. And the loggers skid logs from the opposite side all the way up to the very front. So all through there, it has been compacted by heavy equipment. And one of them being me. So I'm fully aware of it. And another concern that I have is fire and trespassing. We have such a fire hazard nowadays, and I am fully aware of what it's like, because we have approximately 1.5 miles or so of the hiking trail that's on our property at a different location, and we end up policing it ourselves constantly. And we haven't closed the trail down, but it has crossed our mind because of the fact that we have to police it. They're not supposed to leave the trail, they're not supposed to camp, they're not supposed to have fires, and they do all 3. So there we are, we have to take it upon ourselves, and now we're going to add one more location to the same thing.
You're past time.
Time, Butch.
Pardon?
You've run out of time.
Okay.
Thank you.
Hi, I'm Dan Cruikshank. I run 3 businesses in town. I'm speaking in support of the Maji Chai Land Sanctuary. I believe that it will add economic growth to our county, tax revenue, which will help with, roads and public schools, all the benefits of increased tax revenue. Also, as far as like bringing people into our county, it will help, with the economy, restaurants, bars, gas stations, you name it. So I believe that in the spirit of economic development, that's another reason I support it. Also want to make a distinction, although it's classified by the county as a resort, this is really a retreat center, which is different from a vacation. It's actually a learning experience and an experience. So people are going there to retreat and not to vacation. It's a distinction that lets us talk about, the negative aspects will be lessened because of that. And finally, I just want to say we all wish we could choose our neighbors. And, I live in rural Lake County, and I wish I could choose my neighbors. I have a neighbor that actually put a fence on my land. It just, it encroaches over my property line. But I think with, I wouldn't also like to not have like a dirt bike track or a shooting range as my neighbor. If I could choose a neighbor, I would believe, Maji Chai would be an ideal neighbor. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, my name is Lisa Cosmo. I live in Silver Creek Township for a little bit over 30 years now. Grew up in the cities, and we love where we live, and it's something that we feel is a little bit of our own little sanctuary. I love your idea. This is also something I thought such a lovely idea for people. I know a lot of people that, I know here, and, I'm a minority. I know people that are Caucasian or, white, whatever, but don't know the fear that you feel. I don't, I didn't realize it until one of my sons talked about it. I just think this is a lovely idea, and I wouldn't mind seeing more of this. I've even thought of having like a bit of a type of sanctuary with a labyrinth. Our property is kind of concealed, but with now the spruce bud where we've had to take down a lot of trees, but it's still really lovely where we're at. And I'd love to share that too. But for folks that don't get that, it's a wonderful opportunity for them. Thank you. Don't mean to fall apart.
Thank you.
Hi, everyone. My name is Jean, and I just want to say thank you all so much for taking the time to be here. I'm quite new to Duluth, so I speak from a very humble place, and it's so beautiful here. I just wish to share that I am a trained mental health professional. I'm a psychotherapist who has been working with survivors of trauma for the past 13 years. And I wish to share that the kinds of things that we do in therapeutic settings and spaces of healing, very quiet. In fact, noise and looks that could be threatening, guns, those kinds of things are the things that we would freak out about. My dad has undiagnosed PTSD. He lost his dad when he was 7 months old. And our family has suffered so much from that. It's one of the reasons why I turned to study psychotherapy. He has a sanctuary in his backyard. He lives in BC, in Canada, and he's afraid to visit me in Duluth because he hears of things in the news, you see. He hears about guns, and he hears about these kinds of things. And I tell him, one of the first times that I came here to visit my partner, who's white and from here, it was a very cold winter. I walked down the block and I was shivering. And one of the neighbors, this lovely man, he said, "You okay? You cold?" And he was going to pass me some gloves. He's white. And when I was on the land picking apples at Maji Chai Land Sanctuary, wanting to make some applesauce, I cut my eye and I hurt my cornea real bad. I didn't have insurance, and one of the doctors in the neighborhood that my partner knows came and saw me on Labor Day on his own time, and then saw me on the next day. He's also white. So I want to tell my dad these things, and I want to tell my dad more of these things, because these are one of the most beautiful experiences that I've had here, and I just wish there could be more of that for more people, period, because it's meant a great deal to me and meant a lot for my own healing. So just thank you all so much for your time and for listening.
Thank you.
My name's Alex Spear. I live on Gun Club Road, but my mom's got property close to this place here. And I know she's gonna be 90 years old next year, and she's living by herself now because my dad just passed away. And big concern for her is gonna be people getting lost, which up here they do that quite a bit. I served on the rescue squad here for 21 years. And people that are coming in from the cities or even out of Duluth, sometimes they get in the woods and you can get mixed up in these woods really quick. And there's trails out there that run right into my mom's property. They run into Whitlock's property. They run into somebody's yard usually. And these people, you know, they're gonna get lost. Maybe they come out, maybe they're gonna end up calling a rescue squad on this because you are, you know, at nighttime when it gets dark out there at night, it's dark. I mean, I've gone out and got guys that have been mowing hunters for years, and they get lost. And so another concern is that at Campbell River, I see on one page there that you had a bridge going across that, and I don't know what the statute is on going across a trout stream, but I think that got to be a structured bridge through the DNR or something. I mean, I don't know where that would lie, but I know that we've all done it up here being hunters. You lay across a bunch of logs and then you put some planks across there. You get a high winter and them planks and logs are going down the river. And now all your problem from your bridge and stuff is carried on to the next person's land down the river, you know. I mean, I grew up on that river. I fished that river when I was this high till I was 14. You know, we were up and down that river all the time. It's a beautiful spot, and it's not that, you know, people here are looking at black, white, yellow people. I mean, that don't make no difference. But it's the people that bought land out there and lived there for all their lives and stuff we have lived there, paid taxes here, and it's, you know, someone that is going to be a resorter. And we've had some other things come into that area, and they've turned into real bad things. And the thing of it is after they get the permits and they get the stuff to come in there, and it turns bad on them, it's real hard that the county's got to go in and evict them. We've had persons evicted because of the problems out there with animals. And this is stuff that's happened, and that's what they remember. You know, what people have lived out there, and it was a problem back then. And I just see a lot of people, you know, being wandering off that land. You know.
It's done.
I see. Thank you.
Thank you.
My name's Lisa Boz. I'm a resident of Lake County for my entire adult life, 40 years. I live in Finland, Minnesota, but my husband and I met Rebecca and Matthew when they were looking for land along the North Shore, and we would have loved them to be our neighbors. We live a little farther up the road than most people are comfortable with, so it wasn't a good fit for them. But I think they've really demonstrated that they do everything with care and concern, and their utmost mission is healing, not just healing of the people that they know and that they love and the people in their lives that they can especially touch, but the land as well. I can almost guarantee you they will heal that piece of land. They will treat it better than it's been treated, certainly from what I've heard, and then it probably would be treated by another person who maybe would just be one household, but would not care for it the way they are. They've shown by the people they've gotten involved in their project that they're going to do it as correctly as, certainly according to all the requirements of the county, but I suspect they'll do it even above and beyond. They'll do what's best for the land. And I also can almost assure you that they could have concern for their neighbors as well. I imagine there's some family reunions that are more than 30 people for a weekend. They're looking, as people have said, for a retreat center. They're looking to experience the very rural life that we all are here able to appreciate and able to live. and share it with others who haven't had that experience. And I think that's an incredible gift and actually an incredible thing. I would be proud to think that Lake County has a place like this. So I am in full support of them, and I will plan on helping them.
Thank you.
Hello, my name is Sam Arnikost. I am a resident of Duluth, and I actually coordinated the birding event last fall. And I run this group called BIPOC Outdoors Twin Ports, which is really meant to uplift communities of color in the Twin Ports region and surrounding, and just a place or a group to provide opportunities and resources and experiences in the outdoors in a space that in a group that we feel safe. And we were so fortunate to work with Rebecca and be on that land and experience the magic of it, even without really any development on it at all. I just had such overwhelming feedback from the participants who came to that event of just how comfortable they felt, the peace that they felt, in just having a place where they felt like they could just show up in the skin that they were born in, and without any fear of people like staring at them or following them around, and just making sure that they're in the place that they're supposed to be. And I think this project really just symbolizes a new chapter we can be turning and investing in. I know you're all here because you care deeply about the land and water, about our local businesses, our economy, about our community, our natural resources. And I just want to assure you that this project is not just some old tourist scheme where their goal is to get as many people to tromp through the North Shore and make a lot of money and then send them back to the cities. This is about instilling the same respect that they have for the land in a whole new demographic of people that desperately need a place to rest and restore their spirit. And we're still navigating the repercussions of very violent and exclusionary policies and laws that we think happened a long, long time ago, but really didn't. We're still like mending these relationships, and to have a community like this in the Northland, which I wouldn't typically say represents like racial diversity typically, I think it can really set a precedent for the direction that we want to grow in as a community. So thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening, everybody. My name is Claire Bransky. I'm born and raised in Duluth. Have lived on the North Shore my whole life. I'm also a small business owner. I'm a mediator and a facilitator, and I regularly work with local and national organizations that are looking for a place to have retreats and meetings. And unfortunately, I've had to turn them all away because there isn't a good place to host them, and I've lost like much needed business because of that. I think that Maji Chai would be an incredible place to host these gatherings and bring sustainable development for local businesses, especially in the off-season, to Lake County. And I just want to speak directly to folks who have concerns about this permit. I want to acknowledge that the Northland is changing, and it hasn't been changing for the best for a lot of us who are from here. And that change is really scary in a lot of ways. The entire world has us on its radar, and many of us who are from here have been impacted by land grabs and raising property taxes and disrespectful, annoying tourists, and so much more. To say the least. I think it's really smart. I think it's smart of us to be wary of the intentions with which people are coming to this place that we're so lucky to call home. And frankly, y'all, I hope that we organize together to keep out the billionaires who don't actually care about our communities. Like the Cargill family just bought up 22 houses on Park Point in Duluth. That's horrifying. People who have built up absurd wealth off of the labor of working people like all of us should not be here. They do not have our community's best interests at heart. Those people are threats to all of us, not our black and brown neighbors and coworkers who are also looking to enjoy the tranquility and natural world that we all value so much. I see Maji Chai as a blessing to our region because they are offering the exact kind of inclusive, respectful, long-term care, investment, and stewardship that we need in our region. And I think that we're lucky to have them and all of the opportunities they will bring to the North Shore. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hello, all my relatives, everybody here. My name is Kat, Dr. Kat Marchowski, and I am a third generation Wisconsinite, third generation South Shore person. And I grew up in Bayfield. And we could only wish to have good neighbors that have this all planned out and thought out, coming into our area as well. I absolutely love that land, I love that place, I love this lake. I love the community and the concern for these places. The generations of people who grew up here, hunting, fishing, grandmas and grandpas that they still have around, I get it all. And I don't come to things like this, ever. But I had to for this one, because we had Wild Rice Retreat in Bayfield. We had a lot of the same exact conversations, a lot of the same exact worries, and I would say that they have been good neighbors, and the economic impact has been huge. We know when there's a Wild Rice Retreat happening in Bayfield, because there are people there that want to learn and care for the place that they have come to retreat to. If this were a resort, I would probably be standing here saying, no, don't do this either. But I could only wish for people to come into this area, which is going to be sought out. All of us who grew up here know we're in trouble if we don't do this right. Because our family's generations of land, everything we care about, the reason we stay here, instead of fleeing to the cities, is at risk because we've done such a good job to protect it. And now people don't know where else to go and they're panicking. I would much rather have a retreat put into place than Cargill's next mansion.
Amen.
Okay, so I get it. I get it from a local standpoint of somebody who grew up in the very place that people have been coming for generations to vacation. I've always said since I was a kid, I am lucky enough to live in the place where people come to visit.
Yes.
And that is important to me. However, there are other people that are threatening, and if you look at Bayfield, we are a real good example of that. They come up once or twice a year, they don't spend any money on our community, and they leave. I know that. I feel that change, and it's not good. So if we can get people up here who are going to be people that advocate for these lands, that teach about our communities, that talk about why we need to make sure we have these conversations openly, we got to do that, because otherwise it's the next billionaire coming in that's just going to wipe our land, wipe your trout streams. It's starting to happen around us.
That's done.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi there, my name is Danny Frank. I'm also a resident of Duluth. I've been in the Northland 17 years now, spent a lot of time up in this area. And pretty much everything I think has been said about the value of what these fine folks are trying to bring to the area. One thing I want to do to sort of maybe put a exclamation point at the end of it is I do consulting work. I work with nonprofits, governmental organizations, schools, you name it, to look at ways to be more inclusive, to look at ways to embrace diversity and to move forward with the aim that every municipality that I can think of in our area is trying to do, which is to be more welcoming, to have better representation, and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And you literally have people who are here bringing it to your doorstep. And I think that folks ask us all the time. I train with Kat, my esteemed colleague who just spoke, and people always ask us, how do we do this? How do we engage people? How do we include people? How do we make people feel safe, empowered, like they belong, all those things? And most oftentimes the answer is you need to build relationships, you need to reach out, you need to create a safe space where people can come and be. And here you have folks who are literally trying to do this in your neighborhood. And I hear the concerns from neighbors. I live on 2 acres in the middle of Duluth that happens to be floodplain land, so it's not buildable. And I wish I had folks that wanted to take care of the land and look at the birds rather than college students dropping their vape pens and flip-flops late at night, you know, that type of thing. But I just think that as a county, you've got the regulations in place to deal with the density issues, the noise issues, all these things that these fine folks around us had brought up tonight. Traffic, all those things. And those things are there for a reason, right? To protect the people who live here and the tranquility that they appreciate. But I just want to make sure that you as a commission here don't miss the opportunity to do what it is that we're all talking about, which is to build inclusive spaces and to welcome diverse groups of people to our communities and to basically make that part of the reality of what it is that we're living here in the Northland. So that's all I got. Thank you.
Thank you.
Well, not my favorite thing to do is get up here and talk, but my brother and I own property. He was up here earlier, and we worked our ass off for 50-some years in Lake County, not like everybody else is from Duluth or wherever. And we're not Cargills. We've worked to buy this property for our use and people that are welcome to come. And I don't see how you can build a sanctuary for 40 people on 40 acres. We have way more land than that, and it's not big enough sanctuary as far as I'm concerned. And I hope you consider the property that they have is definitely not big enough for what they're proposing here. And, I hope you will take a long, hard look at this. And I don't put my earbuds in when I go out in the woods to look at birds. I go out in the woods to shoot a bird maybe. But they probably don't want me for a neighbor. So they need to take a good look at what they want to do there, I think.
Thank you.
Good evening, Chair, members of the committee. My name is Jordan Johnson. I live in Duluth. I've been sitting here for a few hours, listening to many different people speak on behalf of the permits. And so I just want to honor the work you're doing. And I want to pause just for a minute. I want to honor the work you're doing. I wasn't going to speak, but you can feel emotions in this room and the pain. And speaks volumes to the necessity of spaces as a land sanctuary. For the last 4 years, I was working with young people who are unstably housed, primarily who are indigenous, black, and multiracial, who are dying on the street. They're in our community. I think these are the people and partners we want to partner with. Those are our future generations. I want to honor those who are with us who might not physically be present with us. Sometimes we just have to pause and notice. There's a lot of history, there's a lot of feelings, and there's a lot of emotion. And this is what is being offered. So thank you for your time, thank you for being here so late at night, and for sticking through this, because it's important to hear the voices and allow the hearts to be heard. So, the good.
Thank you. Is there anyone else wish to speak?
Good evening. Thank you all for being here.
My name is Ed Heisler. I had lived in Duluth for about 20 years, worked for an organization called Men as Peacemakers, and certainly have seen plenty of the examples of people who have gone through violence and harm, who are very much looking for places where healing can happen, where learning can happen, where community can be built in safe ways. And this will be one of those things, as has been pointed out before. But one of the things that I would speak to, first of all, is just I'm one of the people who's spent a fair amount of time on the land. And the land is amazing, and the care that people have for this place makes a lot of sense. And the people who are tending to this land, Rebecca and Matthew, they are full of integrity. They can be trusted. They deeply, deeply care about things and things being in good relationship. And so they are good neighbors that are coming into this community, and that matters. And I look forward to seeing how things are planfully developed over time as we move forward with the project. But the reason that I chose to actually speak up is just to say, aside from living in Duluth for 20 years, I grew up in rural northern Wisconsin. And I grew up in a way where it took some time for me to actually, I just grew up walking in the woods and being on the edge of lakes and stuff because that's where I was. I thought it was boring. I couldn't wait to get out of town for a while. It took a while before, actually as an adult, I spent some more time, with people who had taught me how to fish, my uncles, my dad, people like that, and actually learned how to pay attention to what a place has to offer in a deeper way that is truly, truly healing. And that's something that I think people in this room are aware can happen here. And so when I think about growing up, I wish that I had had a place like this where people from all different backgrounds and all different places could have come and we could have learned some of that stuff a little bit earlier. And when I think about our great-great-great-great-grandkids, I'm really excited to think about a place that has opened up the space where small groups of people have come and fall in love with this place, see it as a place where their very beingness, their healing has happened, a place that they care about, a place that they want to tend to and call home, and a place where they decide to lend their resources, their leadership. It just makes me happy to think about what this community, the way that this community can thrive in the future with the combination of the wisdom that exists here and what happens when we open our doors to people who are really in need of places for healing, and for connection, and for community. So I'll end there.
Thank you.
Hello, my name is Tracy Chaplin. I just want to bring back the focus first just with so much appreciation for everything that's been shared, and just it's all really valid. The plan itself, I was at Maji yesterday and looked at this beautiful book that I would have on my coffee table. It's so well done and so detailed. And I just want to kind of put an emphasis on the team that Rebecca and Matthew have gathered around them, of professionals here at the table, but also the support they have through University of Minnesota Extension in an ongoing support role. They have access to folks from the School of Design to help address all those needs about buffers from the road, to make sure that privacy is there for the neighbors, and buffers from the river. And they have an incredible set of resources of professionals in the design process that I feel are going to address all of these concerns, because though I haven't known these folks for long, I feel like I've known them for lifetimes as soon as we met. There's so much care and attention to how this is done, and to honoring the laws and the zoning and the neighbors, that I just feel completely assured that they're going to follow all those things and meet all those requirements, and just to know that the support that they have already gathered that continues on for at least another year, that's already on the books. So thank you.
you.
Hi, everybody. Thank you for this time and all the sharing, like people have been saying. My name is Samir Sheikh. I live in Duluth, but I work and play everywhere outside of Duluth, which includes this lovely area here. I come with a couple different hats on. I come as a director of a nonprofit in town that invests outside in the region. I come as a board member of Duluth Folk School, who tries to instill craft and play and learning in its patrons, and is always looking for spaces to extend that experience. I also come as my own person who loves the outdoors, but wasn't necessarily given that access, but have grown to love it and feel lucky to live in a lovely place like this. So I say all those different kind of positions to kind of emphasize all the different layers that I think hit a project like this, and it's not just a project. It's a I think an intentional idea to bring about a love for nature and peace, as people have been saying, but it also connects to these other kind of layers of economic development, of tourism in a way, but in a very intentional, thoughtful way, and to reiterate what people were saying about finding space and creating space, it's really important to have those just as a person, as an individual, but also in my work life, we do try to find spaces to have and host people to go through experiences where we can be reflective and create better outcomes in our work. And I see this as the sanctuary that they call it, in helping to build about those ideas. So obviously I'm in support of this, and I hope to support it ongoing. So thank you for your time. Thank you.
Hey, David.
Hi, my name is Steve Schuler. I live at 2703 Clark Highway 3. And my main concern right now is fire danger. Two Harbors is 12 miles away. And the water bombers are up in Grand Rapids. When they have large gatherings of up to 32 people, if a fire should get out of control, Two Harbors couldn't get there in time, and they sure couldn't get there in time from Grand Rapids. We had lots of dead pulses. I've got quite a few neighbors up the road from me. If the wind is in the right direction, we'd be wiped out before anybody could get there. And I like your idea of a sanctuary, but I feel myself it's in an improper place. That's all I have to say.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Is that it? Okay, at this point in time, I'm going to close testimony and open our discussion. lot of stuff to digest here.
There is, Mr. Chair.
And it's late.
It's late. First off, if I could, Mr. Chair.
Go ahead, please.
I want to thank everybody tonight for being so respectful. This was a great conversation. A few years ago, we had it somewhat similar, and it was very contentious. And it was not a pleasant thing to be sitting on any side of the table or in the room. So it is such a contrast, and I appreciate no matter what side you're on, it has been very respectful. And I personally want to thank each one of you for that.
Thanks, Rich. Appreciate that.
Mr. Chair?
Go ahead, man.
Commissioner Anxiety. Yeah, I've only been on the board maybe about a year and a half, maybe 2 years, but a year and a half, and I haven't seen a plan this well laid out before. They've covered everything. They've covered in their plan. Pretty much every concern I've heard tonight has been covered. The development team, their board of directors, it's a world-class team that is working on this. I just on its face as a resort, there's absolutely, I don't have any problems with everything I see here. And then on an aside, these are the kind of people that we want in Lake County. This is the kind of stuff we want going on in Lake County. That's my opinion. That's about all I have to say.
Thanks, Matt. Well, I have a question, and it's one of the things that we have to deal with in our findings of fact, and that's financial assurance. So, you know, I realize, you know, nonprofits always are working with donations, and so what do you have for a funding stream? Are you able to build out what you have proposed? Are you willing to bond for something like that? In the past, we've had resorts that have, you know, they get so far and then it fails, and then somebody has to come in and clean up the mess, pick up the pieces. Can you speak to that?
Pass that over to Heidi. Sure. And again, I'm Heidi Zimmer. I'm the real estate development consultant on the project and also the owner and founder of Wild Rice Retreat in Bayfield, Wisconsin. And so I'm helping Rebecca a lot with her fundraising and structuring. She already is the recipient of major awards from both private foundations and other funding to help us get to this point. As you know, it costs a lot of money to put a beautiful plan like this together, to hire the professionals to advance the work. So we are in the pre-development phase right now, and this meeting and this approval is critical to then open the door for the rest of the capital campaign to secure the rest of the financing for the development and construction of what is being proposed. So are all the dollars in place today to start construction tomorrow? No. But we are on that path and well into the 7 figures of fundraising secured to date. And so I'll be working with Rebecca to help her secure all the remaining financing that needs to be put in place. And most likely, what usually happens, you can't start construction unless all your financing is in place. And that includes, especially for nonprofits, a healthy operating reserve. We want to see at least a three-year amount of operating support, as these things take time. I've learned myself in opening the first retreat center in the Upper Midwest. It takes time to get the word out, to get the rooms filled, and so we want to have her not have only a solid capital plan, but also an extensive operating plan as well.
So a bit of a chicken egg thing where with the approval of this application, that then gives us the go ahead to actually call back the people who've been waiting for us to be in discussion with them about what it is that they can support financially.
Along those same lines, talking about financial piece of this, is this retreat and a nonprofit, is it seeking tax exemption?
We may seek tax exemption. We haven't yet. So we have been paying our property taxes just like everybody else in the room and on Clark Road. You know, that is our right to seek tax exemption because our purpose is charitable. And so that is something that we're certainly looking into, but it has not yet occurred. We're currently paying all the taxes.
Right. Just curious as how this.
Absolutely, yeah.
Well, Mr. Chair, number one, I don't think we're going to get there tonight at this late hour. But with that said, I do have a few questions that we could start with. But the other thing is we are short 3 members tonight. If at some point we table this for this evening and come back, all of our members would be here. And I would suggest that we get them a copy of the recording so that they could hear all the testimony to get up to speed. Matt, of course, has been joined with us and we've been hearing it. But that would be my suggestion if we get to that point, Mr. Chair.
I think that's appropriate. And certainly, you know, for myself, I would like to have a wave file, something like that, to be able to play back, listen to it. There's a lot of stuff to digest.
I think that's it, Mr. Chair, is that we so much digest, copious notes here that need to continue on. But if I may, just before the meeting, I had written down some questions, and maybe this is a little bit softball, but day-to-day operations. Can you just describe what a normal day would be at this retreat?
A normal day at the retreat would be probably maybe 12 people. So just to clarify, this 32 number, that's our maximum capacity. At retreat centers, generally you've got 50% capacity or less on a day-to-day. So it's not something where there's going to be 32 people in their individual cars parked on the property. So people will, as they arrive, they will be checked in. Everyone on the property will be known. So we will know who they are. We will be in relationship with them. They will get a list of our values and what it means to be there, as far as how our values in treating the land and the surroundings and all the things that they're able to do, which include they can take a walk to the river and do what we do now, which is to stand there or sit there and just enjoy the sound of the water. It's a very healing thing. They can, once there is some kind of footbridge across, go across and use the hiking trail, kind of like a labyrinth for meditation, reflection, bird watching. They will be able to sauna, because there will be a sauna there. They may be able to do some yoga or some type of physical wellness activity in our wellness space. They will be able to eat nutritious food, which sometimes will be catered in from local businesses, and other times will be cooked there from the produce that we're planning to grow on site, to still continue in that farming zone. They'll be able to have conversations across generations. So if you bring your family, then you can sit and a grandmother and a grandchild can watch birds together, can hear nothing and say, wow, do you not hear anything? I don't either. That's amazing. So that's really what we're talking about. If they want to go and visit the big lake they can do that. We may take a group that's there in the shuttle that we're planning and take them to the tourist places so that they can visit the Superior Hiking Trail. They can go to Gooseberry Falls. They can go to either pie place, because we're right in the middle, and do the taste testing that we've done. And they're both great, and I'm not going to take a side right now, but everybody has their favorite. That's what we're talking about.
So along those same lines, then you mentioned you would know the people.
Yes.
And kind of just give me a feel for what does that mean? Are they come from organizations that you know? Do you know them individually? Are they screened? How does that look? What does that look like?
Meaning we would know so some of the people, many of the people who come will be meeting for the first time.
Sure.
But we will know who is there because everyone on site will be checked in. Everyone will go through a welcoming process where we take them through this is our culture here. This is what we do.
Orientation.
An orientation, exactly. So there won't be anyone on site that we don't know who they are and where they've come from. Some will be certainly people who we've already met because we've been relationship building in our previous and current occupations and just in building community throughout the region and in the Twin Cities. We have relationships and people who are waiting to come and experience the land sanctuary. So it'll be a combination. We also expect that people will return and the relationships with the land will grow deeper, and they will come out for volunteer weekends and help to take care of the land, help to grow the produce, help to clear the trees, and keep the place as pristine as possible, because the land cares for us and we have to care for the land.
So how much of your activities would be structured activities where you would, when I think of yoga, you have a yoga instructor.
Right.
But some of the other pieces, communing with nature, is there, do you have an instructor? Do you have a guide?
We probably about half of the time will have guides for everything, but if there isn't a person there, there will be signage on the property that shows where the paths are. We are absolutely intending to mark all of the property lines because we respect everyone's property. That is something that we've told to our neighbors, and we certainly will have that in our agreements as people come in orientation, is that follow whatever the types of signage that we have, to follow that. So there will be suggestions for, this is what you can do at the river. This is when meals can happen or are happening. These are the quiet hours, and so be back at this point. And then if you want to take a longer hike, or if you want to do other types of like water or other activities like that, we're going to have a list of suggestions for places that they can go to do that. So there's not going to be, it's not going to be that people will come and all of their activity is going to happen right at the land sanctuary all the time.
You might send them like Gooseberry Falls to do a hike down there.
Exactly.
World's greatest donuts.
I mean, if they want to
Go
take
get
a
a pie
drive.
down at Betty's Pies.
Or rustic. I mean, so, yeah. There'll be guidance.
Okay, so then, another thing that's, well, when I think about the hiking part and your trail demarcation, it's very important.
Yes.
Mr. Sphere, Al Sphere raised that question, we're sending our rescue squad out to pick people up locally. You wouldn't think they get lost in the local woods, but they do.
Yeah.
And so that's very important to us.
Yes, yeah.
But the other thing that I was wondering about was, it was brought up, is two-part question. So I saw something in your literature about community events, and then also what are your private events like? I know that was mentioned, if there would be, okay, are you going to have a wedding there? Or something like that, so that I understand what that means.
So I think there was a piece in discussion, it's past my bedtime, everybody, I don't know about you.
Well, we're all getting there.
Yep, so there was a piece in the analysis that asked that question, will events be in line with our mission, or will there be private events? All events will be in line with our mission. We're not planning to host weddings, so it's really not our intention at all. Community events really just means more structured event for a large, possibly a larger group of people. Maybe we will have, so I'm an acupuncturist. I know several massage therapists, other types of body workers, people who do forest bathing, you know, walking through the forest. That's what I call it. We have a joke about that. So we'll have like a weekend where a group of people will specifically come out, and they'll be taken through a structured set of events that have a theme of winter time, perhaps. A lot of seasonal things. So something in winter. Okay, well, we'll be more quiet. We might snowshoe. Something in the summer. All right, well, we'll definitely be outside more active unless the flies and the mosquitoes are awful. But then there'll be opportunities for people to have a massage or to go through a guided sauna, or I'm getting that right, yes, sauna. Or a yoga class, or just a meditative walk through the woods. But it'll be like something where we say, this is a weekend or a few days during the week where we are bringing in people to help guide throughout the entire weekend different activities for you. So as opposed to coming and really just relaxing and resting completely, which is totally valid too.
Well, yeah, and that's, when I think about community,
Yeah.
I think about community.
Absolutely.
And so that's where I went when I first read it, was, okay, are you, one day, a few hours, you open up and say, come on, neighbors, let's
Oh my
all-"
gosh, yes.
That's the part I was wondering.
Thank you, yes. One of the things in our plan, which isn't in the plan, but in our plan, is that we will be hosting community meals. Probably, not all the time, but a few times during the year, because our neighbors are important. They are our community. We have told our neighbors, and I hope that they come to believe us, that we really want to be in connection and community with them, because we're all connected. So, for example, with the wildfire concern, we had that too, and we really heard that loud and clear when we had neighbors over, and because of that, we changed our plan. Wildfires don't respect property lines. We are always going to be interconnected, whether we like it or not. And so having things like community meals, or community meal and then, hey, why don't you come to the sauna? And why don't you enjoy some of the things that we are providing for others? So that, because everyone deserves relaxation, right? That is something that we look forward to doing, just to build community around us and to keep that going. And to share stories.
And to my thought, if this were to pass this commission, and you live there,
Yes, which would be, yes.
now you're members of our community.
That's right. And we do consider ourselves to be members of the community. So, yeah, thank you.
So, Mr. Chair?
Just a minute. Just to follow up on Rich's question, and I know there's concerns. Now, when you talk about an event, we're not talking a 200-person event.
Oh, goodness, no.
When you're describing this, it sounds to me like 30 people max, maybe 40 people for something, but yeah.
Exactly.
Just to
It is
clarify
not
that one.
200 people, and everyone, whether they are, most of the people will be people who are staying there, but if there are people from the region who don't need lodging, but they want to go on the bird hike, they will be checked in, and they'll have their orientation, and everyone will be known.
The only time you might have 200 people there is, a community dinner.
Oh, gosh, that would be a potluck, I think. Yeah.
Free food.
Right, free food is a really, yes, that's a big driver, big draw.
I think you had something, Rich.
No, Mr. Chair, I was going to say, I
you were going
don't,
somewhere.
I've got a whole list of tough questions, but it's past her bedtime and
Can I
getting
ask
her
a
line.
question? So you were talking about because we're so late about tabling this instead of voting. What does that entail? So what would that entail if you don't actually vote right now, tonight?
Mr. Chair.
Well, we just put it back on the table, we'd, adjourn the meeting and pick it up again at our next.
Recess the meeting.
Recess the meeting. And then pick it up again at our next meeting, or if it was commission's desire to have a special meeting, how that would fall into place. But, I think we need to spend the time to be able to listen to that testimony again, reread the letters, think about this. Like we said, it's bad decisions happen after 10 o'clock. So.
I do have one probably short question for you. What do you project for length of stay?
Oh, I would think it's probably going to be similar to what the length of time that people stay at, say, what?
Largemont or.
At yes, that Largemont or that type of thing, so 2-3 nights.
Okay.
3 nights is the typical stay at our retreat center. It's a long way up here. Once people get here, they want to stay. At my retreat center, they end up adding on a night or two because it takes 2 days for their shoulders to go down and find the breath in their belly again. So our stays are usually a little bit longer than traditional resorts.
Thank you.
So April 15th will be our next scheduled hearing.
Scheduled hearing? How many hearings do we have that night?
Maybe 3.
That
That's
would
the
probably
gravel
work
pit.
then.
That's a gravel pit.
They're established gravel pits, aren't they? Or are they new?
There's there's not a lot of material with some of them, I would say.
So it would be doable.
It would be doable or otherwise schedule a special hearing.
I guess it would be, time is of the essence. That's usually the applicant's desire to, because we don't have to do all the noticing. But that is pressure on the staff.
Come on, fair enough.
So if it can wait until the 15th, there's not, is 2 weeks going to gain you anything?
Potentially. Certainly would not want to put extra pressure on the staff because we've seen how hard you work.
Yeah, it's just a question of, we have to just would confirm. So if I'm not mistaken, we'd have to establish this evening when it would be tabled 2. So that would be.
That's the
We
normal.
can renotice,
order.
we can
Yeah.
determine that and then renotice it, but we wouldn't be sending out notices.
The notice of decision that she would publish tomorrow would be published on Friday, and it would say when the next meeting is. Like when we would pick this up off the table.
Okay, so.
And can we get our other 3 members?
Oh, for a special meeting? Or for
a special meeting.
Right. So we have to determine the time when we have a quorum at least.
Which we can't determine tonight because we don't have 2 of our members, everybody knows.
But do we have to notice that tomorrow? Yeah.
I agree with that.
What time do you, for the meeting? For the morning? For the paper tomorrow? Maybe we can figure that out by to notice at a time.
Or do April 15th.
And there's nothing that says, one of us
Tax day.
not going to be sick, something
Oh,
is,
right, yeah.
Going to happen, so. Certainly, I would assume vacations will be over by April 15th. And you definitely do it that day.
So,
May I ask for clarification for why, I mean, I also want to for sure noted in the record that this was a very complete and thorough application, and if there is a delay tonight, that it is not due to incomplete
no.
application, and that this was very thoroughly put together.
If I may speak, Mr. Chair.
Go ahead, Christine.
It's not that, it's more this is not uncommon when we have this many comments and an opportunity to digest and consider conditions. And yeah, it's hard to schedule these hearings and anticipate the time it's going to take.
Okay.
well, I've seen this part go another 2 hours.
Yeah, we want to make sure that when the findings are established and the conditions are established, that we're
Sure.
It's going to be to your advantage, probably that I'm a little fresher too.
Okay, so can we ask to be ordered, if it is going to be another meeting, to
The
be
first
at the
one?
top of the
Yes.
agenda?
Please. We can figure that one out.
Have the times been set for the other one, the other hearing? Yeah.
We have a fluid agenda at the moment, so we can work something out that it would be at.
Oh, does someone know that they're?
Yeah.
Someone
requested
to be scheduled
first.
But that.
Yeah,
is
no, he'll be
like
fine.
30 minutes here. So,
No, it won't be extensive like this one.
yeah, no.
It would be.
Okay, and then can I also just so we understand the next step here, the next part of this, depending on what date it is a kind of conclusion on your part and a finding of facts and not another public hearing?
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah, public testimony is closed.
Okay.
Yes, continuation, we recess.
Continuation, okay.
Yeah, we
Okay.
recess and continue.
Thank you for clarifying that.
Yeah, it's just as if we were picking it up. Yeah, right now, where we're at
Okay.
in time. So,
Okay.
so it'll be question, answer, discussion, and then move forward into a motion with conditions, findings of fact, and then vote.
If it is possible to be first of the agenda, we would greatly appreciate that, and we understand that you do what you do your best.
Well, the other thing that I would actually recommend is we could start earlier than 5 o'clock at that day. So perhaps if we can have, we know we have the quorum, we could even set it earlier in the day.
Sure.
1 o'clock.
We've done a few of those.
Are the,
Great time.
Tyler and the Ernest, are they?
Yeah, so.
I feel like you guys have regular schedules.
5 always works for me,
Okay.
but as far as Joey and Brock's probably the toss-up there.
Okay. Well, we can figure
Whether he's, whatever shift he's working, I guess.
Right.
But there's no hockey
Do we
anymore,
have to
so there's
notice the
that.
time? We have to notice the time too tomorrow, don't we?
I don't know that we have to notice the time.
For this, for a recess hearing, you set time, date, year, that's it.
Yeah.
So set the time also.
Yeah, you're not noticing anything. They're all here.
But in the notice of decision though, in the paper, we have to identify that it's, yep, that's part of this. That's the notice.
That has nothing to do with the next hearing.
She's just saying she has to get it in the paper in time for,
Tomorrow.
but you're saying if we set it here, it doesn't have to be put in the paper, is that what you're saying?
Oh.
So it doesn't have to be noticed according to our attorney.
You're not, you don't renotice a recess.
No, we don't have to send out notices. We just have to establish.
So what time would you want to set it at, the hearing? Because he's suggesting that we also put a time.
Before you adjourn the hearing, put a time on it.
Yep.
I think we should go with 5 to make sure that we're accommodating the other commissioners.
I think that would be best odds.
Okay, and we don't have another conflict with another hearing, something that you can.
It hasn't been noticed, right?
No.
Don't make it worse.
No,
I'll figure that out.
So, Mr. Chair, I move that we lay this on the table and pick it back up April 15th at 5 p.m. in this location, in LEC.
You need a second for table?
I don't think you do.
And no discussion?
I think you need a second, but you don't need, you
Oh,
can't have discussion.
May I ask a procedural question? Since I am an integral part of the team, I won't be able to be here. Would I be able to participate on Zoom that evening since I wouldn't physically
Yeah,
be
we
able
can
to?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Okay, great.
Yeah. We'd love to have you in person.
Yeah, thank you. I would, yeah, I have an international flight early the next morning.
That's no excuse.
So I'm sorry.
You can sleep on the plane.
Yeah, I'm not planning on it.
So, just somebody second?
Second.
Second.
Thank you.
So,
So now,
motion to recess.
Well, the table.
I see what you're saying.
Sorry. And recessed until April 15th, 5 p.m. LEC. See y'all here.
Thank you.
You did?
Thank you, everyone.
I did.
All right. I'll second.